Hello, winners, and welcome again to the Wrong Button Podcast, the show where we talk most things nerd, a lot of things video games, and generally whatever keeps us happy. Hi, Mrs. Play, welcome back.
Hi everyone, it's great to be back.
So I initially pitched this to you as a hey, indie game versus AAA
Versus the big blockbusters, yeah.
versus the big blockbusters, and now while we're still going to stay on that topic because you and I have covered quite a swath. There's your GRE word for the day, swath of games on the channel.
We've done quite a few. For me, it doesn't always feel like we've done that many games, but from when we started the channel to time now, even before we started recording, and okay, how many indie games have we played? Because I don't feel like my repertoire is nowhere near yours or even the average gamers. So you're like, we've played a lot. I'm like, you know so much more than I do.
Well,
I'm just here on the sofa.
I mean, I also sit over there and read the books about it and stuff like that. So that's not even a fair comparison.
But yeah, I think I have a fair amount of experience. Enough to be a contributing member of this conversation.
Because that's how I was starting it. Do you remember the first game we recorded on the channel by any chance?
No.
Okay. Our first series was Shadows of Mordor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I liked adventure games. And you're like, what's something you like? I'm like, I want to wander, I need adventure.
So we did Shadows of Mordor, and to throw you guys back there.
Oh my god, that was on your headset.
Yeah, that was on my headset on the back of a chair, twisting that out.
Trying our best.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
So, because like I said, originally it was AAA versus indie games. Oh, I know, right?
You
Sitting here with
great.
Mics, isolated audio. But yeah. So you and I have you and you said there, we have come such a long way as it is to games coming from
you pick great games for me.
Thank you. I have tried, and because of, as you guys heard, Mrs. Play's very distinct style of, okay, what's something that you would sit down and play with me? It is, okay, it needs a story.
Yeah.
It needs to wander. Generally speaking, it cannot be a first-person shooter.
Correct.
Or third person, so just
no shooters.
No shooters. And it can, I think it was objectification of female characters can't be in there.
Yeah. If there's a battle bikini, I'm done. I also need pretty colors.
You do need pretty colors. Or it needs to be tastefully muted, because I think you enjoyed contrast just because of the style of it all. But so yeah, I was hoping to sit down and talk with you, because since you and I have started dating, you've definitely seen me go through a boatload of games. We're not going to go back and rehash all those, because I don't even think I get through all those. But then there's also been the games that we've gone through. So, winners, for those of you guys who aren't in the industry or aren't
you have not watched every single one of our episodes.
So how this started was the easiest games I thought to bring Mrs. Play into were Uncharted.
Yeah, because it has the adventure component, but there's color, and one of us liked National Treasure more than they should have.
Yeah. So yeah, I brought you in on Uncharted. And then I think my pitch for you, I made you watch Hey Ash, What You Playing for Uncharted 2, where someone's like, oh, you realize this is just Firefly the video game.
Yeah. That made it good.
And then you and I started playing Lost Legacy, and we did Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah, we did do Tomb Raider. I liked that one.
Yes, and we're not going to play either of the other two.
That's fine.
I know. I'm a little sad by that.
That's fine.
I've
accepted the loss. We've moved on. I have indie games in my life now, and
you do.
They're so good.
I'm glad that you're enjoying them.
I do.
Because they're definitely hit differently, I would say, than your big budget ones. So indie games, guys, small developer, generally the first few games that they make are indie games. You have your AAA games, which I want you to think of your summer blockbuster movies, your Marvels, you're going to take the whole family to go see this in the summer. And those are these kind of games. So Uncharted, Call of Duty, Tomb Raider, these games that you go out on the street, go, hey, have you ever heard of Uncharted? And someone like Tom Holland goes, yes, it's one of my favorite games ever. And then you've got indie games, which I feel have a lot more nuance to them.
So is it, for me, an indie game obviously means smaller budget. So are we talking like under $50 million, or is it like under 10 million? I don't know. I don't know the cost of things.
Okay.
In my world, anything that's like not anything less than $10 million, like I'm not even going to shrug at.
Ooh.
So in
no, go ahead.
Yeah, we're Sweat, Blood, and Pixels.
Yeah.
reference document. And then I'm also imagining with smaller budget comes smaller team size. And so, or we like could be as small as like one person, and this is like the love of their life, and they work on it for 5 years, 8 years to develop a game, or it could be like maybe a team of 5, 8, 12.
Yeah. So it could be everything from one person. Sorry, you guys can hear me. So a team, like you said, could be everything from one person to a team of, I'm going to say probably like 20 or so people.
Okay. My mental number was like 30, probably certainly less than 50. It was like 30, between 20 and 30. I'm ballparking. I've been to precisely one PAX, and I read Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. And I side C game with Mr. Play, and that's like the depth and breadth of my experience.
You do. So, yeah. Spouse, I'm talking, 50 to 100K.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like budget.
Budget. Okay. Budget. I had no... Yeah, see, like, I don't know things. But, like, surely, like, $1 million. But when I'm thinking, like, one person developing the game, but then again, takes years, and they're definitely not drawing a salary during that time. Or at least, like, not from that game. They're not drawing a salary, so... Now we know. Mr. Play's Googling.
Yeah, I was.
What are you Googling?
So I was looking to see...
I have my glasses on, but I can't read it from here.
So I was looking to see one of the best ones for it. There's a game called Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight. You read about the Blood, Sweat, and Pixels.
Yeah.
Made by Yacht Club Games. It had a budget of like $3 million. And they're this team that's like, hey, Shovel Knight, throw him in anything. If there's somebody that can do a cameo, we have to give you money to put a cameo of Shovel Knight in there. They do that. And they've also made other games in there. And then I was looking to see what the budget was for Stardew Valley. Because
Stardew Valley development budget.
Yeah, pretty much. Because that was made by like one guy who did that. And then it just... Yeah, he really wasn't doing anything except for like budgeting the game. And friend of the channel, Quiggles, will sit there and tell you he remembers the day that the guy tweeted out that he finally got a desk, because he was like sitting on his floor on an old PC, like typing away at it.
Yep, it is noteworthy.
But yeah, so yeah, you're talking
100K to several like tens of millions.
So like you're gonna sit,
all right.
You would sit upstairs and work while I sat down here and programmed, and like that was my life.
Got it.
And I would come to bed.
No, thanks for setting the stage. Like it's less of a spectrum and more just like buckets.
Yes, it is very much buckets.
Okay.
I personally find that AAA games are very formulaic, whereas indie games will be far more interpretive. So you'll have more creativity in your design. All right, so I'm trying to like think of like the best two comparisons to like put this to that would be something on the same level. And if you notice, like every AAA game, you play as a person, being a person doing person things, right? Like
fair,
run, jump, shoot, but you're a person.
Halo, got it.
Yeah, Halo. But then we've played something with Ori and the Blind Forest where you're playing as like this little wisp.
Yeah.
And that's
Stray. Now we're cats.
Stray. Now we're cats. That's something most people haven't thought of.
If you guys aren't playing Stray, you need to play Stray. Support people who are playing Stray. It's a great game. We're playing Stray. Support us.
Yeah.
By people, I meant us.
We are playing Stray. So that's kind of where I want to focus on, because like even even between that spectrum, you have your B class. You know, I talk about those cult classic movies like Tron or
Sure.
so like up until recently, Dark Souls, Dark Souls
Okay.
1, Bloodborne would have all been like cult games because it's like it is beloved by a very specific group of people, and people can go, I see why you like this. It wasn't until Elden Ring came out that it finally hit like AAA status.
Right. Silent Hill.
Silent Hill would also be.
Hey, look, I'm contributing.
Yeah.
It's what's the one that Pat and Wooly played? I know it. I can think of it. Pyramid Head and.
Yep.
I was there.
Matt and Pat played that on the original Best Friends. Yes, because I made you watch that Let's Play.
Yes.
But you've had a few indie games that we've gone through. And I think our first one I started with you was Journey.
Yeah, very simple. It's like you're gonna, and I played that one. Me. I played it.
Where it was, very simple mechanic of just go forward.
Yeah, you can't mess this one up. It's okay. Which was primarily my concern. It wasn't his. Mr. Play has more faith in me, but I'm like, I don't want to get shot at. I want to duck and cover. I just want to have a good time.
And I thought that was a really good one for you to start on.
That one was really peaceful. We played Abzu. We did Concrete Genie. We've done Solar Ash. Okami. Bound. Origami. Contrast. We're doing Stray right now. You said Ori. And then would Kenna be considered? No. What's Kenna considered?
So Kenna, I think, is going to be the same as Okami, which is B.
Okay.
I think because it's the studio's first game, it's technically indie, but it definitely wasn't.
Yeah, Kenna checked all the boxes for me. I loved that game.
It did. I'd want to see what the budget was for that game.
Yeah.
Because they got that Coca-Cola money.
That sweet Coca-Cola money.
Sweet Coca-Cola bear money.
You know the ice caps are melting. Anyway.
Coke's not going to fix that.
No. They're not going to fix global warming.
But that's so that's kind of where I wanted to start with this one for you, especially coming off of Blockbuster. So let's start with like Uncharted. The Uncharted games they're very formulaic. We have our plucky, happy-go-lucky, lovable rogue.
Yes.
Who is out to find a treasure for
fame and glory?
Fame and glory, but like
an underlying of, I don't know, heritage.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think about the best way to describe that. Because like Indiana Jones is like, this belongs in a museum; it belongs to be preserved.
Sure.
And he's just like, look, you're not gonna have it. This could make me really rich. So I don't know if it makes him a bad guy.
He's got a mentor, and then there's always some other bad guy followed closely behind him. He's not quite as clever, but definitely better funded. Always better funded. Who's also trying to go after the thing, and they've had a disagreement, and now it's a matter of like who can get there first. And we always have to globetrot.
Copy paste 3 games.
Yeah.
The 4th game, it all happens in one area. Oh. Yeah.
So, but that's the formula.
Yep.
Got it. Whereas in the indie games, there's, as you said, you're not always a person. Puzzles. More puzzles, better puzzles, more unique ways of problem solving. Because like in was it Contrast? With the shadows. Like being able to turn into a shadow and like, in order to get up onto that balcony, you have to move this ball, turn into a shadow, jump up over here, come back into quote real world to wander across to make this jump and then go back into shadow in order to reach the balcony, like that sort of thing. And even in Stray, for example, like you're just encouraged to behave like a cat, and just the terrain traversals completely different than, hey, can you run, can you squat, can you dodge roll, can you slide down the hill? So it's sliding. I know you do. I said it specifically for you.
Okay.
But yeah. Just navigating in the world is more unique. That's why I like it.
And it's even because if I were to show you a series that's probably considered B, like Metroid, where you play as Samus is the Metroidvania games that I always tell you about, where it's like, hey, it's 2D, and like Ori and the Blind Forest, where we had to bounce, go all the way up here, we got a power, go all the way back because now we can use that power. That's where those games started. So they have versions of that that are much higher in budget with like screen production. So you can see how that can transfer from like, here's this idea as it originally was, here's a new indie interpretation, and here's a more bigger budget version of it. And I guess the next big thing here would be like mechanically. I know I play a lot more of these games.
Yeah.
But I think you can even tell when I'm having more fun just going through a game. Like Solar Ash, just the skating along to me was a lot of fun compared to something, let's say, like Uncharted, where it's...
You just love to dunk on Uncharted. It's one of the only bigger budgets that we've done together recently. I watched you play Spider-Man.
But even like Spider-Man, Spider-Man 1, traversal, the web swinging, it's one of the few games where I hate fast traveling in it. The fast traveling scene was cool to see, like Spider-Man on it, like, and how
on the
that
subway,
changed,
yeah,
and how I was just sitting there riding it. But if they had screwed up web swinging, that game would have been panned.
Yes, it's only one of the most critical elements in the entire, arc of the character.
Even going to something like Horizon, you and I have been playing Horizon. We played Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yep.
We did the expansion on the channel, and then you and I
Frozen Wilds.
We are now doing Forbidden West.
Yeah, we're still working on it. No spoilers.
We'll have a spoiler cast when we get there. But last night, for example, from when we were doing this, you and I came up to recover an artifact in that game, and we had to fight a group of people. We fought, maybe 15 people in total?
Yeah.
And 2 machines, or like 5 machines.
Right.
So in that game, everything feels intentional. It doesn't just feel like, and here's another machine, and here's another person.
It wasn't just waves and waves. You can always tell when you're walking into an arena, like, oh, we're going to have to fight a boss here. This feels very closed in.
But cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be a huge machine. It's going to be a challenge.
For sure.
It's going to be fun. Uncharted, when you and I stopped
playing... You
playing...
just become a murderer.
And that's what I think one of like the issues with, at least with 3, felt like, where it's just like, we're here and we're doing this, and there's more guys showing up. Like, we're in an abandoned chateau in France. Where are you getting these? How are you getting them here?
Yeah. Yeah, like, we should have heard those trucks. How many people are you funding? That's a lot of people on payroll. That's a lot of people without families who are just expendable and no one's tracking.
Yeah, I've played first-person shooters with less carnage.
Right. Yeah.
So that's
and at least in other games, like, oh no, the bugs are coming, and like that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of bugs.
Yeah, bug biomass in total colossally outweighs like all other organisms.
Really?
Yeah. If you take bugs as a category, and then everything that's like also not plant, like all other living things not plant, bugs outweigh by tons, hundreds of tons.
Huh.
From a biomass standpoint.
Are you talking like all other living creatures? You put all of us in a bucket, we would not outweigh bugs.
That is correct.
Oh, wow.
There's more bug diversity than any other diversity.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I know this was supposed to be about indie games and not, but let me just drop a little biology for you.
Starship Troopers never sounded better. I'm doing my part, stomping on them. But yeah, so that's something where intentionality and diversity and the indie games I think have done so well.
Yeah.
You have instances that we ran into enemies in Solar Ash. It's like, fight these 5 enemies.
Yeah.
And it's just get past them, really.
Yeah, like 2-3 hits. It wasn't the biggest deal. And even the bosses, like there was a formula for the bosses. Like you have to like do it 3 or 4 times. It gets a little bit more complicated each time, but it's not so insurmountable. I really enjoyed, since you brought up Solar Ash again, was like the traversal where like you can like run, like what was down is no longer down, and all you just like follow the curve of the cloud, and now suddenly you thought you'd like fall away into like the nothingness of the black hole, but like no, this too can also be down. Or like you're literally climbing up what used to be ground, but now it's like bent almost 90 degrees into the air, but you can like maintain gravity close to that surface. But you couldn't just like jump and take a shortcut, just free fall straight down to like your original point of gravity, what was down. And it was a bit of a mindfuck. Like for me, just watching you, it was very easy for me to get disoriented. And like, is it safe for us to jump right there? Because it wasn't a second ago. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
It was
a radically different concept for us. I think in general.
In general, yeah. Like what it honestly felt like there, and this just because you're saying like how the perspective, it made me feel like a flight sim. Because like a flight sim, I can sit there and crank, but I'm also like, I'm playing a flying game, so of course I can do this.
Right.
Whereas this was like, I still see the person I'm playing as, and I'm now doing a flying game thing. Where, and I think the camera doing a job of like letting you get so far before chasing you.
Yes.
Was a really fun way to go about that.
Yeah, it was a very, very enjoyable, and like the newness definitely drew me in and would keep my focus because I have a little squirrel brain. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it, and like the speed running element, like while you're like skating, was very cool. Thoroughly enjoyed.
And yeah, and that's something that I also agree. Going back to problem solving and puzzle solving, I always felt like the puzzles in a lot of these indie games, because they're lower budget, that what they're going to do is they're going to be like, okay, we have a core element. You're going to use this core element throughout the rest of the game. So when you did contrast, it was light, shadows, and then it was like, oh, hey, how does the shadow actually work? And it's like, pull the thing closer and the shadow gets bigger.
Yeah, you can move the light, and that affects the length of the shadows. And I feel like with the indie games, since they are a lower budget and they have fewer resources, they have to be smarter with their resources. And how dynamic can we make these game elements, like you just said? Like, this is core, and you're going to carry it with you through the game. How dynamic can we make it? And you have to be so much smarter and more comfortable with risk. Like, you have to be smart. And they were. That was a very successful game. I wasn't sure I would like contrast when we first started. But I liked how like the circus theme was able to play in well with the lighting and the shadows and the showmanship. Like it really did matter, and it was very central to the story. Very well done.
I also liked the you don't know where is real, where is not real. The game does a really good job at messing with your perspective there, especially from the beginning to the end of it. And then even looking at something like Journey. So going back to Journey, because it's walk forward the game.
Yes.
You can walk, you can jump, you can twirly jump to get a little bit higher.
And there's some sliding elements, but yeah.
That's one of my favorite parts is when you just slide down. And they do a great job at panning out so you can see the rest of it.
Playing with perspective and scale. Or like, and it's lonely. Like sometimes you see like other Journey individuals and stuff, but like you can't talk to them. You're not really, there's no verbal dialogue. Like there's some narration happening, but things feel enormous. You feel very small. You feel lonely, but also like in awe at the sense of scale and the other living things that you come across. Like I was awestruck. And you get to feel a sense of danger without, having something shoot at me. for lack of a better phrase, like come in and eat me. Like you feel the danger and you're like, oh, evade, hide, feel small, and like your character cowers. But there's never a sense of just senseless violence, blood, and gore. I don't like that in my games. Especially when I'm the one playing them, I need something very peaceful. I need like training wheels. Good vibes only.
Good vibes from Pathless.
Yeah, Pathless.
Thank you for carrying me to the top of that one.
Yes. Oh yeah, Pathless. That wasn't even on the list. Shame on me. I'm adding it. Pathless. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Pathless was the second game by the people who made Abzu.
Great.
So that's why I chose that one for you.
Mm-hmm. What are the questions you have for me? Ask me another question. I'm ready. I'm doing a good job.
You're doing a great job. Let's guess the budget for all the games.
Oh, that's not something I'm good at.
Oh, just
as far as like over and under goes, that's not my specialty.
No, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Is there anything, since we've done so, you've seen a fair amount now of indie games, is there anything that you wish you'd see more of in an indie game? Or anything that you...
I've thoroughly enjoyed games that challenge my perspective. Like, I know, like, we just said with Contrast, and with Solar Ash, like, I thoroughly loved the crazy change in perspective. What was down is now up, but it didn't feel like Clown House of Horrors.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed this. I mean, Solar Ash is just top of mind because we recently completed it, but how you played the game, how you found all the different capsules that gave you like the background of the story, like really mattered in how the ending went, and you could break the cycle. Like there are clues that are like, you've been here before. Echo's mad at you. What's going on? How many times have we done this? Are we Echo? But I like that you can break the cycle. I really liked in Concrete Genie that at the end it was hopeful. Like there was always I need games with hope. Where the hope doesn't get squashed.
Concrete Genie was I probably think my sleeper favorite of them all so far. Mm-hmm. Just because, like, one, drawing the genies was cool.
And yeah, and they stayed. Like,
they did.
Yeah, like I love that element where you get to have creativity and design whatever, like, quote, monster that you want, and that they develop personalities, and that the different genies had different abilities. Yeah, and you got to like revitalize the town and decorate the town, like with your chalk art.
Because especially partway through that, when it all like goes back to just being white, and you're looking at the town, it's just like
shit.
That
also aghast.
Yeah, one of the things that a lot of these games I think have done, especially more so than big budget games, because big budget games are your atypical hero journey.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas these games are like, hey, let's tackle an entire emotion. Let's have like a theming in here that is something akin to like regret. We're gonna give you all the keys to this mystery, but we aren't necessarily going to we're gonna tease you along that way. It feels like Solar Ash sees this one where it's like it could go like any one of these possible ways.
Bound was similar in that regard.
Bound was very similar in that regard.
Like we were playing like a humanoid, and the shapes were very simple: squares, triangles, like discs. But it would change. It would mess with the sense of perspective, and we're like just trying to navigate that world. Like, where are we? When are we? What are we trying to do? How did we get here? How do we move forward? Like, I like those games.
It's one of the things with choosing the games that like I've played. I've chosen a lot of them very carefully. You did indulge me through Sleeping Dogs. You did indulge me through Devil May Cry 4. Mm-hmm. And I know that one's not your favorite. I know for me a little bit, especially with Devil May Cry, it's, hey, do the combo and look cool.
Yeah, that's not for me.
For me, what it is it's like it takes like, okay, if I'm going to launch them, it's now thinking about what moves to do next.
Yeah, there's like, you had to hit like 6 different buttons in order to trigger that combo, and you had to do it just perfectly, like perfect timing. And the combos like were impressive to watch, but it was like every single element had to be. It was just like over the top for the sake of being over the top.
Yes,
and that's why more is not always more for me.
The company that made Okami, Clover Studios, now Platinum Games, made a series like Devil May Cry called Bayonetta, which is a femme fatale. She's what's known as an Umbra Witch. And it's the same thing, except she's got like guns in her stilettos and on her wrists, and it's over the top for being over the top, and her hair is her magic.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. But it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, let's go around into this route to see that too. Is there anything as far as we'll go back to AAA that we've either done or you like on the channel or just played you and I? Is there anything there that you get more tired of seeing? Because I know for most AAA games, it does feel a lot about spectacle. And formulaic. So I know one of my big things is when you do an open world game, go find this point, climb to the top of this point, and now you can see the world.
I don't mind those. I like, for the big budget games, that it almost feels like I'm in a movie, and when you climb to the top and you see that grand view of a canyon or a mountain in the distance and like the tiny little birds for scale. I love that. Or when you're just like staring up at the sky and the clouds are moving and they look like clouds. They're not just like a stagnant picture. Like I absolutely love that. But I'm a sucker for the nature realism. I would say one of the things that really bugs me about the big budget games is just like the go fetch quest. Like go get it, go get it, go get it. And like I journeyed all the way across this goddamn map and came all the way back to get you your like family. That's not even a relic, but just like it's been in the family for generations thing. And you just give me your thanks. Like I don't mean to get all like high pitched and squeaky, but that also like that was not worth it. Why? You're not even critical to the end of game. We're like, I won you over. Now you're here to help me at the surprise ending. Like I'm mad. You wasted my time. So I don't. If you're going to send me on a go fetch quest, it needs to be worth my time. Otherwise, I'm just resentful.
Okay. This play does not like helping out the little people, is what I'm hearing.
I need more than just thanks. I don't do it for the gratitude. I'm here in a game. This is game world. It needs to have a purpose. Like doing it for the lulz and the warm and fuzzies isn't enough.
Okay.
Like I'll put the cart back at the grocery store. I'm not a monster, but
I'm glad I could help with that one.
Otherwise, I'm not. No, it needs to have a purpose.
Huh. Not here for the little people's all left.
This is why I don't do interviews.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you have so you like seeing the nature? Do you have a particular favorite of a favorite scape that has been done out of everything we've played? Like, hey, I really enjoyed this game's world more
the
than
mostest.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Horizon. That's my most favorite game. For all of the realism and all the plants and the water looks like water. It's spectacular, but I would have the world that I'm like most excited about that isn't, like Utah, or San Francisco. It would be Kenna. I loved Kenna. I loved the spiritual element. I loved that as you cleared the areas, they felt so safe and so peaceful and improbable. Like that structure, like that thatch hut is not going to last, but here in this world it can. and you can climb to the top of this mast and you have a look out over the valley. Like, I loved that. It was such a happy place, and I loved the spirituality of that element. Like, I wish. I'm normally against organized religion as a general statement and principle, but I'd follow that one. I'd consider it. Like, I wouldn't mind living in that world.
Kenna was gorgeous. Like, every sense of it. I enjoyed the fact that they actually had some boss fights for me.
Yeah. You died a lot.
It was only the final boss.
It was a bitch, but
I swear to his moves were not as telegraphed as some of the other ones were.
Agreed.
The other ones, I'd be like, oh, he's gonna do that. He was like, fuck you.
He's like, I'm not. Yeah. There's a reason why I'm the one in charge. Yeah, I loved Kenna. It deserved all of the awards.
Oh yeah, no, it really did. Little rots are so adorable. The Ember Lab, yeah, they did a great job. And once again, though, it tackled like this sense of like loss and mourning.
Yeah.
Along with like just like hopelessness, like something's changing, we can't figure it out.
Yeah, it was hero. It was coming of age. It was save the world from apocalypse. Like, why is the energy leaving? We've been here for generations, and the mountains always provided, and it's going, and things are wasting away. It's like just addressing change, like in a way. It's kind of like talking about climate crisis.
I was getting a Who Moved My Cheese vibe to it at one point.
A bit, yeah. There was for sure.
Because the one older guy was like, if you just tell the people to follow you, they will, and you can leave, and you can lead them to a better place.
Yeah.
He's like, no.
Right. But yeah, I loved that world. Very nature. There was no mosquitoes. I was a fan.
Nature without the mosquitoes.
Without mosquitoes, man. It's so green, so pretty.
Sorry, you had me thinking. I was like, Aloy doesn't swat at mosquitoes. I think Nathan Drake in a cutscene or two has swatted at him, or if you stand still.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, really aren't mosquitoes in video games, are there? Unless you're playing Fallout.
Jumanji.
Oh yeah, Fallout. Also, like when you get to go to the eastern shore of Maryland, and there are giant mosquitoes that attack you. Yeah, it's gross. Mm-hmm. Do you have a story so far? It can be from any of those, like a story that you're like, hey, this story has been the one that's like I would go back and revisit again, like on my own time, or like.
Sorry, I'm like suppressing a burp. I'm trying to be a lady. Kenna. I would play Kenna again. I like the idea of Ori, but that requires a level of like hand-eye coordination that I just have not developed and currently do not possess, and I would get frustrated.
We still have Ori and the Will of the Wisps to go through.
I'd be happy to play Journey again, play Azul again. Abzu, thank you, Jesus. I know words. I'd give Bound a go. I think I could figure that one out. I'd play Stray. I need to learn the buttons, but I feel like I could do that one.
Oh my god, I could hand you the things for Stray and you'd be good at it.
Yay!
I was halfway expecting you to take the controller from me when we were going through it.
Because like our roles are so in place that
that's how Journey started though. Was you were like, wait,
I can do this.
Stray is literally like circle X and that's it.
Yeah. And which one's meow?
Circle.
Cool. I can do that. Yeah, Abzu. Yeah, I feel like I could do these. I'd be very happy to go back and do Kenna, do Abzu, do Journey. Solar Ash would require some practice because again, like my hand-eye coordination, you guys, quite limited, and just like the fine motor skills of like moving between the buttons, I don't have it. I'd be a terrible surgeon. Yeah, those are my thoughts. Ooh. Do you have one that's a favorite? I'm gonna turn the questions around.
So far, like going back and thinking about it, I loved playing Concrete Genie. I loved just like
you were very hyped about that game
and painting everything. Mm-hmm. That was a tremendous amount of fun for me. Mm-hmm. Honestly, any game with like traversal, has been something that I've just learned more and more that I like about myself. It's like going back and putting Spider-Man up. Like, I don't even have anything to do in that game anymore, but just swinging from building to building.
You love Spider-Man.
I mean, I do. I do love Spider-Man. But it's the fact that, oh, hey,
when a game does traversal well.
When a game does traversal well, like Journey, that was its entire thing.
Yeah.
So, but when you slid down in it, I think it's the third or second level, and you're sliding down what looks like an old abandoned aqueduct, and then it pans, and you see it from the side, and it's like, oh, here's just this view from, you know, of whatever it is that you're going towards. That was absolutely fantastic and stellar. But I enjoy that movement and the fact that, like in Spider-Man, it's like, oh, hey, I watched him do the thing that I've seen him do in the comics or I've seen him do in the movies, and it's like, hey, if you hit this, you can make that entire sequence go.
Yeah, you can make Miles also jump just like that.
Yeah, and the fact that, like I said, for that one, that was more the simple, like when playing both Spider-Man, going from the original to Miles Morales, where it's like Peter Parker, I'm swinging and it's just like bam, 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 and then you play as Miles Morales and he like gets spun around behind a little bit.
He flails a little. I'm like, you're new. We can tell you're new.
But I did like the fact that you can still do the leap of faith where you jump and turn back.
Yeah.
So that's always great. But for me, as far as like the indie game wise, I loved Concrete Genie. Kenna was really fun to play. I remember just going back and doing all the like background stuff in that game,
the little extras,
to get all that for the ending.
Collecting the rot.
And then, honestly, I really liked Ori. I'm really excited to see Will of the Wisp. Because I liked the traversal. I liked having to, you know, fight a boss and having some. I do enjoy some like precise movements where it's like, hey, just do this better, and that's what you do. I might die a lot, but when you get to the end of it, it's always like, oh, hey, I can do that.
Yeah, and you definitely settled into that. Like when we were playing, you were playing Ori, you didn't get frustrated in the same way I would. Like I could tell you were problem solving and doing elimination. That didn't work. Let me try this. Like you had a method, and I know you guys like. We never show couch view on camera as we're playing games, but when Mr. Play is like in focus mode, he kind of like leans forward a little bit, kind of hunches his shoulders, and he sticks his tongue
comes out the side of the mouth.
This is like a little bit of the tongue, and that's like his focus face. And I saw you with that expression frequently when we played Ori. You enjoyed the challenge. It was a puzzle for you. And for me, I'm like, you've died 37 times while we've been recording this session. Like the count meter's just ticking up. But I could see how it's like, just, you can do it, but you need to be better. And if we went like 2 weeks without recording and coming back, like there was a learning curve that you had to get through to regain the proficiency in order to continue on. But yeah. I can see that that being something that you enjoy.
And one of the things is so going off of this, like Tyler and I are going back and playing an older game. We're playing Republic Commando. And one of the things that, especially with newer games and as technology's gotten better, Ori feels hard of like, hey, do better. A few of the other games that we've played, it's like, hey, just you need to be a little bit tighter with this. Going back and playing some older, bigger games where it's just like the situation is unnecessarily hard because you don't have that much money, you're a kid, one, and two, games aren't perfected. So like you'll be firing shots at something and you'll be like, or even thinking Star Wars, because you and I played Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, we did Fallen Order,
and we've got Jedi Survivor coming out, I think, next year.
Yes.
I think I even showed you on the PS5. Like I put the exact same scene loaded up back to back, and I was like, "Hey, just so you know, I wasn't crazy when we were recording this."
Yeah.
And you were like,
No, I thought you were just bad. You're right. It was the machine. The game was too powerful.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, there were times where like you were sliding down this little ice path and you need to be able to like make that jump, and
you would just watch the frame cut.
Like, why are you so bad? Nope. The game was too powerful for the machine. And really playing on the PS5, going to Jedi Fallen Order, the little particle dust and watching the rain fall off. And I know we saw and commented that on Tomb Raider, just like the rain falling down your skin as you're even just like walking through it or like trying to climb up something. It was truly spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved going back to Jedi Fallen Order again. As we've been watching Clone Wars, like the animated version. We're going to season 4 or 5 right now, but even just seeing the inspiration from that television series to Jedi Fallen Order, I'm like, oh, that's where they are, and that's where they got that. And so like that made the game so much more enjoyable for me after the fact. Like we played the game, we're getting to like the later seasons in the television series, and my fondness for the game is growing from watching the show.
I'm glad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's like one of the universes that I can talk probably better than anybody. Forever. Yeah, I really can. All right, we're getting close to the end here. Wrapping up thoughts.
Hey, thoughts. I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
Other things I really enjoy about the indie games is like you can't afford voice. There's a limited budget for voice actors, and so you convey emotion through body language and uses of color. Whereas in the bigger budget things, it's flashes of cinematography and epic battles and fight scenes and explosions and dialogue from voice actors that Mr. Play knows by ear or other famous actors. So I really appreciate with the indie games, I feel like I can still get the same value of experience. It just has to be a bit more interpretive.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly enjoy it. It's more open for interpretation. I really appreciate that. And the finesse use of color. And again, I'm repeating myself at this point, but it's something that I didn't know I would value. And it's taken me a while to realize that's what I'm enjoying. I'm always like, oh my god, this is so pretty. Oh wow, I think it's mad. I don't know. Ooh, scary. But yeah, it feels more freeing. It feels more like I can wander, I can interpret. There's a spectrum of possibilities and motives as opposed to, no, we have to like go to this point and get there before they get there. Or
I think Concrete Genie was one of the first ones where I really saw you take that to heart, because we created one of the first things like, oh, that's scary looking. Or you saw Luna for the first time, like, oh, that's a little scary.
Like,
and then it's just like,
be a bad guy.
Like, no, you're just a really fuzzy, but your kid's drawing.
Yeah.
And then, you drew the other ones, and it's like, you're a little weird, but I like you. Your kid's drawing.
Mm-hmm.
And then going to when you and I were playing Solar Ash, and we got to the one that was on the moon. Oh god, what are they called? The interferences,
Fuck.
Yeah. But when we got to the boss on the moon, and I was like, why does this one feel different? And we did something to it, and it like recoiled, and it scampered away from us. Like there were points where it felt like it was pulling away from us, and then it would start to lash out. Like you don't feel that old, and you don't feel that malevolent.
Yeah.
And
like, what were you?
It's like you feel like you might have been very young at some point. Mm-hmm. So I really, really enjoyed that aspect, that there were some of them where you saw it and it was like it really made you feel bad about it, because I know
you got to question morality.
You got to question morality, and then it was the whole thing of like, what were you? What are you? What
as opposed to just like shoot and kill. It's like, yeah, you develop.
You're a monster, and it's like
gotta kill the monster. Instead, it's you get to the indie games force you to question like, morality. Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Where did this come from? Question motives. Where are you from? Why are you like this? You're just really hurt and scared.
Yeah.
You're not evil. You're just scared.
So I
It's
think
refreshing.
Yeah.
It's a very human experience.
By the most non-human looking of characters.
Yeah, that's why it works.
But yeah.
Here for the indie games.
We've got plenty more along the way. We've got a few AAAs coming up too.
Woot woot.
I won't drag you through Devil May Cry 5.
Is our Halloween game considered indie?
It'll be B.
B?
It'll be B.
It's a good one too. It makes me jump.
It does. We do need to finish that before Halloween gets here.
Yeah.
September's going to be busy. August's going to be busy for us.
Yep.
Well, winners, thank you guys so much for joining us as we do our little round couch talk.
Like you say round table, I'm like we were sitting on a sofa.
We were sitting on a sofa. Our round table talk of indie games versus AAA and just kind of where the channel is growing as a whole. We're not becoming an indie game channel, but we have been...
I have my preferences.
We have been enjoying those, and as Mrs. Play's preferences grow, we will try other games. Let us know what you guys like. As always, you can find us Monday through Friday on the channel. Mr. and Mrs. Play Monday and Wednesday. Mr. Plays Tuesday and Thursday, and then Tyler and I rounding up the week on Friday with some fun Star Wars games. You can also see what we're doing on Twitter and Instagram as we post more stuff of what we're doing. Remember,
catch Mr. Play on Sundays when he's streaming.
Yeah, I do stream a fair amount on Sundays. I do my chill streams on Sundays and sometimes other days of the weekend. But remember, you guys are all winners out there. Keep it weird and have a fantastic rest of your day.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much for joining us.